What's the most unhinged thing someone screamed while they were actively dying? My stepdad Craig believed that society's right-hand dominance was keeping us from reaching our full potential because Leonardo da Vinci was ambidextrous and Einstein was left-handed, and that's not a coincidence. When he married my mom 3 years ago, he seemed harmless with his theories, but then he discovered some blog claiming that forcing yourself to use your non-dominant hand would unlock hidden intelligence. Within a week, he'd rearranged our entire house for left-hand use only and declared that anyone living under his roof would follow his revolutionary brain training program. Mom went along with it because Craig convinced her it would help my little brother's learning disabilities. He moved all the door handles to the right side so we'd have to reach across our bodies and rearrange the kitchen so everything sat on the left. If he caught us reaching with our right hand, he'd make us start the entire task over while he watched. At dinner, he'd tie our right hands behind our backs with rope to prevent cheating. My brother struggled so much trying to write left-handed that his grades dropped even lower, but Craig insisted that was just your inferior neural pathways resisting the superior configuration. He'd lecture us constantly about how Michelangelo trained both hands, which is why he could paint the Sistine Chapel while sculpting David, which didn't even make sense timeline-wise. Your right hand is a crutch preventing optimal dendrite formation in your brain, he'd say, while watching me fumble with my homework. The worst part was how he'd randomly throw things at us to see which hand we'd instinctively use to catch them, and if we used our right hand, he'd rage about how we were sabotaging ourselves. I secretly practiced with my right hand late at night because I played violin in the school orchestra, and there's no such thing as a left-handed violin. I'd wait until everyone was asleep, then practice fingering to keep some strength and coordination. My girlfriend helped me practice when we were alone because I was terrified of losing those motor skills completely. A few months ago, Craig was making his morning smoothie in his special left-handed blender while lecturing Mom about how Thomas Jefferson was ambidextrous, which is why he could write the Declaration of Independence while simultaneously architecting Monticello, because both hemispheres were firing in perfect synchronization. The machine jammed on frozen strawberries, and instead of unplugging it, he just reached in with his left hand to clear the blockage. The blades caught his fingers and pulled his hand straight down into the mechanism. Craig yanked back, but his hand was trapped and the blades kept spinning deeper while he screamed, "Turn it off!" he yelled. But when Mom reached with her right hand, he actually shouted, "Left hand only, you're disrupting the neural pathway training," even as red was spraying across the counter. Mom switched to her left hand, fumbling with the cord, but couldn't get a good grip because she'd never unplugged anything left-handed in her life. The blades must have hit an artery because Craig's face went white in seconds and his knees started buckling. "Call 911, Mom screamed at my brother, who grabbed the phone with his left hand but couldn't hold it steady enough to dial. Craig tried to reach the outlet himself, but his left hand was trapped and he absolutely refused to use his right hand even to save his own life. "Use your other hand," Mom begged, but Craig shook his head violently, saying, "I'd rather die than compromise 3 years of dendrite reformation." Mom dropped her phone trying to catch it left-handed and it bounced under the refrigerator. "Someone help us," Mom screamed out the window, but Craig used his last bit of energy to yell, "But only if they're left-handed," which was the exact moment I knew this man would actually let himself die for this stupid rule. My brother was sobbing, trying to press 3 simple numbers with his shaking left thumb, but hit wrong numbers and had to start over while Craig kept mumbling about staying committed, even as his eyes rolled back. Mom got on her knees trying to reach her phone with her left arm, even though her right arm could have grabbed it instantly because Craig had trained us all to fail at the worst possible moment. I grabbed a dish towel with my right hand and wrapped it around Craig's forearm, while using my left hand to hold pressure above the wound. The tourniquet needed to be tighter, which required both hands working together with the coordination I'd secretly maintained through my violin practice. Craig was mumbling about betraying the hemispheric specialization protocol, even while bleeding out, but I twisted the towel with a wooden spoon to stop the bleeding, then ran to the neighbors for help. The emergency room doctor said the tourniquet saved Craig's life because an artery was completely severed, and he would have died in minutes without it. Craig lost his left hand and spent 3 days in the hospital learning to do everything with only his right hand. The irony wasn't lost on anyone except Craig, who insisted the accident only happened because the blender was designed wrong. Mom filed for divorce 2 weeks later, and my brother's grades immediately improved once he could write normally again.